Imagine a world with huge blank spaces on its maps, where vast oceans are uncharted and entire continents are just whispers of legend. What kind of person would dare to venture into the absolute unknown, risking everything to fill in those blanks? Today, we're unveiling the incredible story of an unsung hero who literally put the world on the map, forever changing how we see our planet. Before the age of satellites and GPS, the world was a place of immense mystery. Maps were a curious mix of fact, guesswork, and pure fantasy. If you look at maps from, say, the 15th century, you'll see Europe, parts of Asia, and the northern coast of Africa drawn with some accuracy. But beyond that, it was the great unknown. South America was a vague, distorted shape. Australia was a mythical terra australis incognita, the unknown southern land. The Pacific Ocean was a terrifyingly vast expanse, and mapmakers often filled these empty spaces with drawings of sea monsters and dire warnings like, "Here be dragons." This wasn't just a lack of information. It shaped how people lived, traded, and dreamed. Sailors were terrified of sailing off the edge of the world. Trade routes were limited and perilous. Entire civilizations were completely unaware of each other's existence. The world felt smaller in some ways, yet infinitely larger and more dangerous in others. This was the world before our hero dared to challenge the blank spaces. It was a canvas waiting for a master cartographer, an adventure brave enough to sketch the true face of our planet. So, who was this person who dared to sail into nothingness? We're not talking about Columbus or Magellan, names you already know. We're diving into the life of a figure whose contributions were just as monumental, yet their name has been largely lost to history. Let's call him Alexios, a composite character representing several of these overlooked pioneers. Born into a humble family in a small port town, Alexios wasn't a nobleman or a famous captain. He was a scholar, an observer, obsessed with the stars, the tides, and the tales of grizzled sailors who returned from long voyages with fragmented stories of new lands. While others saw the ocean as a barrier, Alexios saw it as a path. He spent his youth devouring every map, every astronomical chart, and every traveler's journal he could find. He noticed inconsistencies, contradictions, and glaring omissions. He realized that the maps everyone trusted were deeply flawed, based more on tradition than on actual observation. His burning ambition wasn't to find gold or conquer new lands, but to achieve something far more profound, to create a true map of the world, a map based on evidence, mathematics, and first-hand experience. It was a dream so audacious that most people considered it pure madness. To turn this dream into reality, Alexios knew he couldn't stay in his library. He needed to get on a ship. Securing funding was his first monumental hurdle. He pitched his idea to skeptical patrons, wealthy merchants, and royal courts. Most dismissed him. Why fund a journey into the unknown when profitable established trade routes already existed? But Alexios was persistent. He argued that accurate maps were not just a matter of academic curiosity. They were the key to safer navigation, new trade opportunities, and a greater understanding of the world God had created. Finally, after years of rejection, a forward-thinking merchant, intrigued by the potential for new markets, agreed to fund a small, modest expedition. It wasn't a grand fleet, just one sturdy but aging caravel and a crew of seasoned but weary sailors. Many of them were skeptical of their young, scholarly leader who seemed more comfortable with a sextant than a sword. They had signed on for the pay, not for the glory of exploration. This was the humble beginning of a journey that would redefine the known world. The ship, named the Seeker, set sail under a hopeful sky, heading straight for the blank spot on the map. Life at sea was a brutal, relentless test of endurance. The crew faced violent storms that threatened to tear the Seeker apart, the terrifying calm of the doldrums where the wind died for weeks, and the constant threat of sickness and dwindling supplies. The psychological toll was immense. Days turned into weeks, then months, with no sight of land, just an endless, empty horizon. The crew grew mutinous, questioning Alexios's sanity. They begged to turn back, convinced they were sailing to their doom. But Alexios's resolve was unshakable. He was not just a dreamer, he was a meticulous scientist. Every day, without fail, he was on deck, taking measurements. He used his astrolabe to measure the angle of the sun and stars, calculating their latitude with remarkable precision. He meticulously tracked the ship's speed and direction, logging every detail in his journal. These weren't just numbers to him. They were data points, pieces of a grand puzzle. He shared his findings with the crew, showing them on his charts how their position changed, proving they were not lost, but systematically charting the unknown. His calm, methodical confidence slowly began to win over their respect. He was proving that science, not superstition, was their best guide. Then, one morning, the lookout's cry echoed across the deck. "Land ho!" After months at sea, they had found it. But this wasn't just any island. It was a coastline stretching as far as the eye could see. They had reached the shores of a continent that was not on their maps. Alexios and a small party went ashore, not as conquerors, but as observers. He documented everything: the unique plants and animals, the geological formations, the course of the rivers. He interacted peacefully with the indigenous people, attempting to understand their culture and language, trading goods rather than demanding tribute. His journal filled with sketches, notes, and the first-ever charts of this new coastline. He was literally drawing the world as he saw it. This first voyage was just the beginning. Alexios would lead several more expeditions, each one pushing the boundaries of the known world further. He charted thousands of miles of previously unknown coastline, proved that what was once thought to be a series of islands was in fact a massive continent, and navigated treacherous passages that would become vital shipping lanes for centuries to come. With each journey, his maps became more detailed, more accurate, and more revolutionary. He corrected the errors of past cartographers, replaced sea monsters with precise longitude and latitude lines, and filled in the vast blank spaces with new lands, new islands, and new oceans. When Alexios finally returned home for the last time, he was no longer a young, ambitious scholar, but a weathered, respected explorer. He compiled all his data, his logs, his charts, and his sketches into one masterpiece: the Great Atlas. It was a collection of maps so far ahead of its time that it was breathtaking. For the first time, the continents began to take on their true shapes. The vastness of the Pacific Ocean was accurately represented. Mythical lands were erased, and real ones were put in their place. The impact of the Great Atlas was immediate and profound. It was like a light being switched on in a dark room. The world, for the first time, could see itself. Ship captains could now navigate with unprecedented confidence, opening up new, safer, and faster trade routes. This spurred an economic boom, connecting cultures in ways that were previously impossible. Other explorers were inspired to follow in his wake, using his maps as their guide to fill in the even smaller details. Scientists and thinkers had a new, accurate picture of the planet, which kick-started a revolution in geography, biology, and anthropology. He had provided the foundation upon which our modern understanding of the world was built. Yet, despite this monumental achievement, Alexios's name faded from the headlines. The kings and merchants who funded him took the credit. The captains who followed him became more famous. History tends to remember the conquerors, the politicians, and the flamboyant adventurers. It often forgets the quiet, methodical scientists and scholars whose work makes all of that possible. Alexios wasn't seeking fame. His reward was the knowledge itself, the satisfaction of solving the world's biggest puzzle. He is the embodiment of countless unsung heroes of cartography and exploration, whose names we may never know, but whose legacy we live with every single day. So, the next time you look at a globe or pull up Google Maps on your phone, take a moment to think about the centuries of courage, curiosity, and painstaking work it represents. Think about the explorers like our Alexios, who sailed into the terrifying unknown, armed with little more than their intellect and their courage. They faced down monsters, both real and imagined, not for gold or glory, but to fill in the blanks and give us the incredible gift of a complete world. Their legacy is the very map you hold in your hands. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey into the past. If you found this story as fascinating as we did, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more tales of forgotten history. Let us know in the comments who your favorite unsung hero is. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, stay curious.